Welcome back. Now, Sonita, I'd like to tab on I like your perspective. There's an article by Jasper Technology Chief Executive Jahangir Mohammed that says one of the trends in 2016 is no longer Internet of Things, but Internet of Everything. Like you can have you can no longer measure it by metrics, which means you mentioned about how many billions of devices that will be connected. If you ask different companies, they'll say different numbers, 20, 50, 30, but it's more, now the Internet of Everything is more to a service that IoT provides for its users in both ends. And you mentioned about the 15 application that has been developed. He's saying here by 2018 there will be 22 billion Internet of Things devices installed, driving the development of more than 200,000 new IoT apps and services.
All right. Okay.
That is a grave number from what we're talking about today. So is the world really able to catch up or run as fast as his predictions coming on from 2016?
Yep. Okay. So I totally actually agree with him. And Flo, by the way, I do want to correct myself. So when I say 15, it's really just the main, if you group them all together into big groups, those are like the main big applications for, the industrial side, right?
Okay.
But sure, I mean, he's completely right. There are like thousands and thousands of applications out there. But I do agree with him that, and of course, everyone has their own way of saying IoT, right? The first is IoT, and I think when you just say IoT, people think of it as more consumer applications. And then, of course, then the industrials come and say, no, we are the industrial Internet of Things, which is connecting industrial devices. And then some people say, no, we're the Internet of very important things instead of just things. And now he's saying Internet of everything, right? Because when you really think about it, what you're connecting is not just the devices, but also the human.
Of course.
So it is Internet of everything. But the shift of like going into service is actually a big thing. I mean, it's happening in the US. I don't know whether it's here. So right now in the United States, the new business model that companies who are operating in the IoT world have is like they want to provide a service to the customers. So going back to the jet engine example, just as an example, so instead of like that applications or the software actually being housed at the customer premises, the software and the analytics are actually being housed at the provider, at the provider premise. So the Siemens and the AT&T and the IBM and the GEs. And then we provide that asset predictive analytics capabilities as a service. So the customer buy that as a subscription base, so they pay either a value as a service, meaning like, so when it delivers value, then the customer pays like a subscription, or the customer can also just pay a subscription monthly based on how many devices are being managed as a service. So this notion of like enabling everything as a service is actually a big thing, because I think the old way of doing business of actually installing the software at the customer premise, having a license, is really being evolved into this new world of everything you just pay as a service.
Right. Now, remind us again, Sonita, aside from connecting people, connecting devices, just what kind of proportion are we looking at here, the way IoT changes lives? How will it change our lives?
So that's a great question, Flo. And actually, I think where IoT will completely change our lives is when the automation kicks in. And what I mean by that, right now we have all this connectivity, the devices are becoming smarter. So let's just use some smart appliances in our home as an example. So we have this smart TV or smart appliance or smart, lights that can turn itself on and off on its own. After a while, leveraging artificial intelligence and machine learning, these devices are supposed to be able to be smarter and smarter. So they would be learning about our behaviors, like, when do we wake up in the morning, when do we make our coffee, when do we leave the house, when do we come back from the house, what kind of TV programs we like to watch. And as the device becomes smarter and smarter, they will then try to serve us, such as the light will go soft or like dim itself when we're not at home, and the TV will provide us with the programming that we like, based on what we watched before. And I think that's really when it will change our lives, because then we will no longer have to manually go to the app to set it up or to do something, but it will truly enable this machine-to-machine kind of automation world.
That's on the consumer's end.
Yep.
Now, what about the producer, the company, the business ends? Not only they receive this data to help them improve their products, help them better understand the consumers, and then there is the data sector that there will be industries that will monetize the data exchange here between the sensors that you're mentioning about earlier.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think from the business side, IoT will enable many new business models that you and I cannot really think of today. You know, so the simplest example would be, you know, of course, Uber and Airbnb, who are leveraging existing assets, you know, such as cars and homes, to enable other people to actually use that assets when the owners are actually not using it, and then of course making money for the owner, and at the same time giving what the customers need, you know, during those particular times. And then in the industrial world, actually in the US right now, many people own solar rooftops on their homes. Correct. And right now the connectivity in certain places have enabled them to sell that extra kind of energy back to the utility, so you know, kind of to the PLN of like whoever that region is. But in the future, there's a new technology, a peer-to-peer networking. It's not common yet, you know, they call it blockchain actually. And the first application of blockchain is in the financial sector. But the energy world is trying to leverage the same peer-to-peer trading technology so that the people with the solar rooftop can start selling energy to each other.
Right.
So, you know, this is another example of new business model, right? You know, in the past, before Internet of Things, you wouldn't be able to do that because there's no connectivity and there's no data. But now, but now, because of that, you know, and again, this is still very emerging, but, you know, in the energy world, in the US at least, we have started to look at leveraging blockchain technology to enable peer-to-peer trading for energy.
All right. Okay. We'll talk about the opportunities, not just for big developed economies such as the U.S., but also Southeast Asia, Asia at large. We'll tap on that from Sonita when we come back after the short break.